Once a knight, always a knight. A proud warrior was once needed in the lands of Hyrule to defeat the darkness. A savior, a hero of time. This hero, unfortunately, was lost in legends and history of Hyrule. Yet he did not pass on to the realm of the dead. What was driving this warrior of legend of staying around the boundaries of the living? How was he even able to stay around to guide the hero of Twilight and his journey to become the new hero? Well, this video will go over what I think is or what is the driving force of this character, and why he did not want it to pass on until he was ready to do so. The Hero Shade, or as we know him of, Link the Hero of Time, was searching for his beloved friend Navi in the Lost Woods, a magical forest that was known to be cursed, as whoever passed through this forest without a fairy would ultimately follow its demise. As Link was once protected by the Triforce of Courage, but left the fields of Hyrule, Link was overcome by the magic of the forest, as he did not have the Master Sword with him to protect himself, but also, the Triforce he once owned was lost after he left the light world that was Hyrule. However, he did not die in this forest. Link became much older, just like any other character in the Zelda universe, but instead of dying like everyone else does, he transformed into a figure called the Hero Shade. For lots of you listening or watching, a lot of you seem to believe that our beloved hero became a Stalfos, but I never believed that he was. Let me explain why I think this. A Stalfos is the manifestation of a person that wandered off into the Lost Woods, and indeed became lost. The magic that only strong or magical protected sorcerers can handle is not for the weak-minded, and kids become one with the evil nature of the forest, and become lost as in a lost skull kid. A wonder-like creature that has now become one with the forest. An adult, however, becomes a Stalfos, and depending on the life of the person, the Stalfos can become a warrior Stalfos or any other skeletal entity that looks like one. Someone that dies in the Zelda universe can become a spirit or undead depending on what type of death this person had. If the person was murdered, they most likely became evil spirits, something that happens in major religions as well across the world. If the person dies satisfied or happy with achieving the goal that person wanted to achieve in life, the person doesn't become a spirit, but rather just disappears. In Breath of the Wild, we clearly see the champions being able to not pass on just yet, as Calamity Ganon took their lives one by one, and they had to help the wild hero, as I like to call Link in Breath of the Wild just that, in order to rescue Hyrule from evil. This is a major thing in the Zelda universe and happens quite often within the side quest of the games, or sometimes it happens just for fun. Bongo Bongo, another creature that I called Hades in my previous videos, was another tortured and slain evil spirit that wanted revenge for what Impa had done to him, and rather than taking the side of Ganondorf, was more of an entity on his own to guard the Shadow Temple, as he was directly that, a shadow. And now we get back to the Hero Shade. A shade has multiple meanings, but as a lot of Twilight Princess has historic references to Greek mythology, or inspirations, or at least I believe so. The meaning of shade means a shadow of a former self, the shade of a person. But what comes closest to the Hero Shade is the meaning of the Greek word umbra, which is a spirit living in the underworld. However, this is not just your typical spirit of someone, no. As an umbra is a spirit that was of a very special person, someone that had enough influence to stay around. But they were the ones that were capable to become one with the divine, as in a hero or someone to look up to. The Hero of Time became exactly that. As Link was a famous person, someone that was important to the entire history of Hyrule, he did not turn into a Stalfos. The journey we saw that he took through Termina, a different word for terminal, which means the end of something, like death, is what we went through when Link passed away. My feeling of him not being able to pass on has always been that he felt that he could do more, for Hyrule and for its people, but his own selfish desire to look for a friend ultimately became his downfall. As we all in life have negative traits, no one is perfect. It is something that to me makes Link, the Hero of Time, stand out more compared to the others we've seen through the Zelda series. But this feeling of regret Made our beloved heroes stay in the light world, or heaven if you will, which is Hyrule. Twilight Princess is filled with spirits once you dive more into it. As Link passed away, he was given a proper burial, in the right place that fits perfectly for the hero of time. Within the gardens of Hyrule Castle, the divine hero was buried underneath a proud tree, as that was the symbol of his people that he grew up with. It was the memory of the Deku Tree and the Kokiri. A tombstone describes it with, "The cursed swordsman sleeps before the sacred tree," which is clearly proof that our beloved hero was buried between the royal walls of the castle, and the sacred tree being the symbolism for the Deku Tree that somehow does not exist anymore in the Age of Twilight. But what does the curse signify? Why was Link cursed? In the Age of Twilight, a golden wolf can be found, howling in the shadows of the night. His torment of sadness and despair, crying that for one day a new hero shows up to speak to him once more. This was Link, the hero of Twilight, and once he met the hero shade, they both felt a certain connection. This connection was the mark of the hero, as both have or will be heroes, forever guiding Hyrule to a prosperous time of happiness. However, this hero shade was cursed not because of an actual curse, no. He felt the regret of not being able to save Hyrule again after it falling into the depths of Twilight. The only way for this regret to fade was for him to help the hero of Twilight with every technique he learned during his own journey through life. And by teaching the new hero all he could offer, the hero shade finally accepted the feeling of knighthood again, to feel like a hero once more. This allowed him to finally pass on and inspect his life of how it was, to save people again. After finally saying goodbye, he calls him his son, not because of him actually being one of his ancestors, but because of him being a mentor to someone that he once was, a hero. Now, I would like to take a closer look to the armor and design of the hero shade. What's incredibly interesting about his design are all the plants that are growing on the armor. It looks to be very ancient, which was of course done on purpose, to make him look exactly like that, ancient. It doesn't look like a Stalfos at all, considering that these beings are all wandering skeletons with the red eyes being the only thing that coincides with his design, but he's transparent, actually looking more like a spirit or ghost than a Stalfos. To me, his entire design is a reference to the armors of the samurai from Japan mixed with the influences of Greek soldiers like hoplites, as the round shield is what most Greek soldiers used to have. Except hoplites have spears with small daggers in case they had to do close agile combat instead of just a sword. Now what most people do not go over is the symbolism he has all around his armor. In my Stone Tower Temple video, I explained about what I think is represented here, as the symbols have the exact same color scheme and designs like you can find in the Stone Tower Temple. As the Stone Tower is the last temple in the game, Majora's Mask, and happens before Twilight Princess, one could argue that this is what created the armor design. The Ikana Kingdom, after young Link manages to lift the curse and bring light back to Ikana, the kingdom was always about the undead, the spirits, and decay. I believe that the song, same as the Song of Healing that Link learned through his journey, was used here to split his real body with the spiritual form, which only the Ikana know how to do. In the game, this was done as a gameplay mechanic, but I feel that during the cutscene where we learned the song was the actual embodiment of Link shedding his soul with the spiritual form. Also, I would like to point out, because it's not a coincidence, that the moon had a very large tree right in the middle of a large open field. This might be the same sacred tree that was referenced in front of the grave of the cursed swordsman. The red eye that the shade has is clearly a reference to the Stalfos, as they seem to have red eyes as well. However, our beloved shade has just one red colored eye. This is an important feature to his character, and I might know where that idea came from. In the early concept art of the hero shade, we can clearly tell that the eye was not something that was thought of much later through game development. Instead, the one eye was an actual part of the character, which means it's a special important detail other than just, oh, this looks cool. What I think the red eye means, because in the other Zelda games we can also find multiple characters with just one eye, is the design of a Daruma doll. These dolls are part of Asian culture, and they act like lucky charms and talismans. The way how you use these talismans is by buying one of them first, and the eyes are both empty or white. The person that bought the doll selects a goal in life that they want to achieve, and paint the left eye of the doll with special ink. Once the goal has been achieved in life, you fill in the other eye. I believe that this solves the theory of the eye that Zelda theorists have been talking about for so long. As Link, the hero of time, could not achieve his goal and felt regret because of it, his eye shines bright in the color red. Shade is also a golden beast that learns Link, the hero of Twilight, all the songs he learned throughout his life. However, it seems that he also knows a song of Wind Waker, which could mean a multitude of things. It could mean that he knows about the timelines he produced, as he was the hero of time after all. It could be a reference to Wind Waker 2, or just a reference Easter egg to the other games instead. I'd rather go for the first answer, as that just sounds way cooler. But as the Golden Wolf, he also shows another reference to the kami spirits of the mountains. According to ancient lore of Japan, wolf spirits called okami used to warn the residents of towns by howling through the night. By these divine interventions, they managed to warn the towns of disasters, but obviously nobody knew that they were about to happen. The part where the golden beast sits on can be a reference to the mountains that they protect. And as the howling stones are just like the Sheikah stones, it can be said that the sadness that our Shade went through was known by the Sheikah. The stones have been called wind stones in the past, and the howl stones literally means cry stones. I feel really bad for our beloved hero. As we reach the end of the video, let me say that I always loved the hero Shade for what it was. I did feel that he was missing quite a lot of backstory, as a lot of things were never mentioned. What did he feel about fighting Majora, or if he even managed to fight Navi? This will most likely never be told to us. One can only hope that, by looking at the sky and praying to the gods, that he has found his rest and his long lost friend.